This daughter reduces mom to tears at her birthday because of an invited stranger. When we least expect it, life tends to give us a surprise as we go about our daily lives. We never know what kind of revelations a random day is going to bring. So when Tammy Oswalt's daughter Sammy took her out for a birthday dinner, she did not expect anything much to happen. She was about to get one of the biggest surprises ever when they reached the venue. So who is this woman named Tammy Oswalt? Well, Oswalt is a mother who was born and brought up in Orlando, Florida. She stays there with her family and doesn't have much to complain about her life. She now has 2 grown-up daughters who have become her everything. She said multiple times they're the gems of her life and that she loves them with all her heart. Tammy tries her best to teach her daughters good morals and the importance of respecting others. But even she was completely shocked to find out something that time they went out to have a birthday dinner. To say that Tammy was shocked would be an understatement, as the night did way more than that. But what was the reason behind her acting so much? Since Oswalt was a much-loving mother, her 2 loving daughters obviously loved her very much. They loved to spend time with her and be around her even if they were all grown up. Tammy was absolutely excited when her oldest daughter named Sammy Hewitt wanted to take her mom out for a meal. Her mother was very pleased she wanted to spend some quality time with her. But little did Tammy know that her dear daughter Sammy was actually going to surprise her with a party. In fact, Sammy was actually organizing a birthday surprise for her mother whom she cherished very much. This birthday bash was for the celebration of her mother's 53rd. This happened back in the month of September 2017. So Tammy Oswalt was very delighted to go out and have a good meal with her daughter. She was so excited and arrived early at the venue they chose to meet up in. Tammy wasn't aware that she was going to receive a big birthday surprise from her eldest daughter. The daughter who appreciated her mother so much had in fact planned on giving her a thoughtful gift. The present was such a precious one that even Hewitt had admitted in her own words, talking about the present for her mother, saying it was something that money can't touch. So what could this present be that not even any sum of money could buy? Do you think it would actually be something so precious like a diamond ring that costs a fortune? As human beings, we're all born different and we have dissimilar tastes in everything, so even though there are so many people who love surprises and get unexpected gifts, Oswalt wasn't one of them. She was just one of those folks that didn't enjoy finding out something unexpected. She usually hated surprises and has claimed that it was something she just didn't like. But then again, sometimes even the ones that hate surprises end up loving them if they turn out to be worth all the heart racing and anticipation. So what was this big surprise Sammy planned for her mother? Something that was going to send her over the moon? Was it going to be something as life-changing and as precious as she claimed it to be? It is common for most parents not to demand or want anything from their kids. As adults and parents, they usually see themselves as the giver and mostly feel uncomfortable at being at the receiving end. So this was the same case in Tammy's. She had given prior instructions to her daughters not to gift her anything and that she only wanted to spend a quiet time with her most beloved friends and family. So Tammy had somehow given a basic idea of what she wanted without even realizing it. Her daughter was quick to take notes and tried her best not to disappoint her mother, who had given her such a comfortable life growing up. Even though Tammy wasn't expecting something from her kids, she was about to realize that she was going to get something nice really soon. Even when someone plans a surprise for us, many times we often find ourselves getting a little suspicious or we find something weird in their behavior. So just like that, there was a clue of sorts that Oswalt received when Sammy was about to surprise her. She felt that something was a little off because Hewitt pulled out her phone and turned on her camera. Tammy felt as though she was about to get something really unusual that her daughter described as incredible presents. She was expecting to find something very different as a present for herself. She was a little prepared in the head, but then again, nothing would have been able to prepare Tammy for the kind of present she was about to receive. When we do something out of the ordinary for someone, we often feel the need to share it with others who may not be able to be present with us. Lucky for us these days, social media has become a useful tool in allowing us to share our precious moments with others. Sammy Hewitt wanted to share this precious moment with others, and so she live-streamed Oswalt's reaction to her Facebook. So as Sammy was preparing her mother to receive the gift that she'd secretly been working on, she wanted to give her mom a little word of advice. She did want her mom to be a little prepared before unveiling her secret, so Hewitt warned her mother with the words, "You know how I do random unexpected stuff, right? Would you feel anxious if you heard those words?" So the wait was finally over and emotions were running high. The tensions in the room was getting so intense that it was almost tangible. So it was finally time for Sammy to announce what she'd been keeping from her mom all this time. There was nothing in this whole wide world that would have been enough to prepare Tammy for what she was about to hear. So to break it all down, we now know that Sammy was about to tell her dear mother what she had planned as a surprise gift. And on top of all this, she was sharing this with all her social media friends that made it even more intriguing. So Sammy then gave an announcement to her mother that was surely something Tammy could have never imagined, even in her wildest dreams. Well, what was this revelation that needed so much anticipation? Well, it was definitely something that was going to change their lives forever. With a simple sentence, Sammy told her mom, "I want you to meet your son Dylan." And Tammy Oswalt was so transfixed by what she was heard. She couldn't believe the words that came out of her daughter's mouth. Was this really her son, and where did he come from? Tammy was going to have a lot of explaining to do because this was indeed a shocking revelation. It turns out Tammy has had a past that was way more interesting and complicated than one could have ever guessed. This was Tammy's son, whom she hadn't been able to see for a whopping 18 years. She had to give up her unplanned baby. As soon as she spotted her long-lost son, Oswald got on her feet, wasting not another minute to tighten her arms around the young man. Her son reciprocated by giving her a hug back. The two of them weren't done holding each other and continued to do so for a long while. Who can blame a mother and a son who have lost and met each other for 18 years? Her daughter Hewitt went on filming this moment. It was such an emotional moment for everyone present, and especially precious for Tammy Oswalt and her family. This was indeed one of the best surprise gifts she'd ever received in her life. Sammy kept gazing at her mother and brother as they attempted to hug out all the lost times between them. She then said to her dear mother, "Happy birthday, Mom." So it turns out the guy in the video is actually Oswald's long-lost son. Who knew that she had been keeping such a huge secret this whole time? So back in the late 1990s, Oswalt was a single mom who had 2 daughters to take care of. She was already struggling as is and discovered that she had another baby on the way. Unplanned pregnancies are one of the main reasons why adoption rates are high. There was a catch though. Tammy had actually broken up with the father of the child she was carrying. She separated with him even before she even found out she was expecting. So you could imagine the kind of stress and frustration Tammy was left with after facing such a confusing reality. She admits that it was one of the hardest times ever for her. As a single mother, Tammy already had her hands full with the 2 daughters she needed to take care of. She's a generous and selfless mother who wants to provide the best opportunities for her kids. Up until that point, she had always done whatever was in her power to give her kids the best care. However, she was struggling monetarily, and to have another baby would leave them homeless. She was carrying the child now, and abortion was out of the question. She was looking for the options that could somehow minimize her struggle, but everything was falling apart. She knew very clearly that she would not be able to give the care and support the baby deserves. So in the end, Tammy opted for the only sensible solution and was considering putting her baby up for adoption. It was difficult, but she did do it. People may point fingers at her and call her a selfish mother. However, on the contrary, Tammy's reasons were incredibly selfless. All the decisions that she made were purely for the benefit of her baby. Since she wanted to give her son a life that she knew wasn't achievable by her, she made the painstaking decision to keep him up for adoption, as she thought adoption would help him gain access to a better future. Tammy was devastated as she wanted to keep the baby for herself. It was her first son, and the thought of having to give him up haunted her every night. But she knew it would be the best for him, so she moved forward with the decision. It was a very difficult move to make, but since it was in his best interest, she had no choice but to give in. So when it was finally time to give birth to the baby boy, she was very ecstatic to be able to bring such joy into the world. But this also meant that she would immediately have to give him up the same day. Tammy didn't have a choice but to give him away, and the feeling was an indescribable pain that she can't express. She was alone with no one to lean on, so it was even harder. It was absolutely heartbreaking for poor Oswald to be unable to keep her newborn son. A mom doesn't give up her child like a sack of potatoes, she disclosed in an interview she did back in October 2017. She speaks of her inadequacy. "All I could give him was love, and sometimes that's not enough. I had to make the decision to give him up because I did love him." For a mother to have to give up her baby, it should have some sort of effect on her, no doubt. That was exactly what happened to Tammy. When her son was taken away, Oswald broke down into the clutches of depression and even had suicidal thoughts governing her mind. "I tried to commit suicide," she reveals. "The emotional guilt and loss overwhelmed me." The initial months when Oswald had to give her baby away was like hell, but in due time she was able to get her mind to step out of the depression she was in. Years went on and she slowly learned to keep her depression at the back of her head. But it was still hard, and Tammy certainly thought about her son every day. And in the case of her son, even he thought about his mother all his life. So back in the fall of 2017, Dylan decided to contact his mother. He was able to find Hewitt's telephone number with the help of the internet. When he spoke to her, they remained in contact privately for some time. Dylan was feeling a little anxious reaching out to his mother. So then what was the reaction of their mother regarding all this? In due time, Hewitt revealed to her dear mother all about the secret conversation she shared with Dylan, her brother. Tammy felt shocked, amazed, and a little angry after getting to know all this. All these questions were running through my head, Oswalt admitted. After several months had passed, Dylan thought it was finally time to speak to his biological mother on the telephone. For the mother, it was such a shock, and it did leave her wanting to ask so many more questions. However, she didn't want to be overly inquisitive and wanted her son to feel comfortable and free with her. She felt that they would meet eventually when the time was right. And that perfect timing came when it was Oswalt's birthday, just a few days after they spoke on the phone. So Dylan ended up being the biggest surprise at the restaurant. Talking about the time they finally reunited, Oswalt explained to interviewers, "The moment I looked back and saw him, so much ran through me. There was so much love, I just wanted to hold and kiss him." Tammy also spoke about her first meeting with Dylan in an interview she did in 2017. "As soon as my daughter said, 'Meet your son Dylan,' I broke. I waited almost 19 years for this moment. All I could do was say, 'Oh my God, I love you, you're beautiful.'" She was over the moon to be able to see the baby that she had to give up years ago once again. So in the end, they found out that Dylan and his mother Tammy actually stayed just about 90 minutes away from each other. So the mother and son wanted to spend more time and learn more about each other as much as they could. During one of their first meetups, Oswalt wanted to go to one of Dylan's soccer games. This was one of the best surprises to ever happen to Tammy. She wanted to make the most of it and was ready to take on this new adventure with her son. "I feel so complete now," she confirmed. "Everything I ever wanted I now have. I've got what matters, and that's family." She now feels like she has a second chance to do things better. So by the time Christmas season came, Tammy was not about to celebrate the holiday season alone. She wanted to include her long-lost son in all these important celebrations. So how was Dylan going to take this invitation? It was the first time he was going to have a celebration with his mother, so was he willing to go or not? So both the families on either end talked over and thought about the invitation, and they all came to a conclusion. They all agreed that it would definitely be the right decision to let Dylan spend Christmas with his biological mother. This made Tammy very happy, and it also gave Dylan a feeling of acceptance from his bio family too. So when the time came, Dylan rang the bell and could feel his heart racing. He was nervous to meet all his cousins and his friends. When the door was opened, Dylan was welcomed with open arms and affection from everyone. His family had kept a stocking for him on the fireplace, and there were presents waiting for him too. It would end up one of the most unforgettable Christmases ever for everyone. Dylan finally felt like he belonged with his mother's family too. Since he was received with such a positive affirmation from his biological mother's family that Christmas, he wanted to make sure he visited them as much as he could. Tammy was overjoyed that his son was slowly warming up to her family. Even Sammy was glad she found a new brother. The whole family now felt complete.